It wasn't that long ago that the BMW brand was mostly synonymous with rear-drive sedans, but fast forward to 2014 and that reputation is fast changing. The next chapter in the BMW story is the new X4. The X4 concept is a strange one to get your head around. It's neither a sports car or a rugged high rider. According to BMW, it's something in between. Squeezing into the middle of BMW's X SUV range, the X4 is based on the same underpinnings as the more conventional X3, sharing many of its engines, including the entry-level 2-litre 4-cylinder X-Drive 20i. Now, while all of that may sound confusing, it does begin to make sense as soon as you slip behind the wheel of the new X4. Straight away you notice there's quite a sporty driving position. The seats are actually 20mm lower than the X3, so there's some distinction there. And then once you start rolling, then the differences between the two cars really start to become apparent. The X4 is quite sporty in nature, and that comes right down to the way it rides, the way it steers, but also the way it puts its power to the ground. I'm currently driving the flagship X-Drive 35i, which is powered by a fairly muscular 3-litre straight-six petrol engine. You're able to access that full amount of power and torque from fairly down low on the rev range, and as you can hear, there's a nice throaty 6-cylinder soundtrack to go alongside with it. We've been driving on some pretty soggy roads in Spain today, and even with all that power, the X4 is able to put it down to the ground seamlessly. You can actually feel it very, very subtly apportioning all of that drive to each of the different wheels, and it's a system that works really well. Inside, the X4 loses out on functionality in some respects due to the heavily raked roofline. The back seat is relatively tight and rear vision is also impeded. But more than anything, the X4's interior feels less special than your regular BMW, with a largely plasticky dashboard and the absence of overhead grab rails. The latter omission particularly is a strange one, because in the bends your passengers will likely be looking for something to hold on to. The X4 is that quick. You'd think with a curb weight of about 1800 kilograms you'd feel the full heft of the X4 through the corners, but it's actually quite the opposite. It's really flat and poised in fast corners, but also transfers its weight really well through tighter stuff. The steering has a nice fluidity to it in all the different driving modes. You do notice the extra weight in the sportier settings, but even in the Comfort or Eco Pro settings there's great maneuverability to the car itself. Now you think with all that emphasis on sporty dynamics, the X4 would be a little bit firm in daily driving. You do notice that the ride can be a little bit busy over really faint imperfections in the road, but it's never jarring or crashy, which is the essential thing. The cabin itself is fairly well insulated from road noise, and other than the engine sort of ticking over at higher revs, you don't really notice any noise from outside. Another real highlight in this car is the 8-speed automatic gearbox. It's received a lot of praise, and in the X4 it works really well, offering really seamless shifts between gears, but it's also quick to react to applications of the accelerator. The great thing about this engine is that it is a fairly flexible unit, and by using the different driver settings you're able to take advantage of either its efficiency or its sportiness. And by flicking it to sport mode, straight away there's an increase in revs, the steering's a bit heavier, and the car itself feels a lot more flatter through corners. The large unknown about the X4 is the kind of person that would actually buy one. Its $10,000 pricing premium over the regular X3 is one disincentive. But in addition, there are much more accomplished sports cars out there in carland, just as there are more rugged SUVs, which makes this swoopy SUV something of an oddity. But in the end, all of that is part of the X4's appeal. It's something completely different to look at on the road, distinguishing, and as we've seen today, loads of fun to drive.